Good to go.
Good morning, and thank you for joining me. My name is Frank Piazza, and I'm your investment management associate here at BlackRock. Last time I came in the branch, you had voiced concerns about your clients' fixed income allocations and how to better position them going forward. And those concerns are completely warranted because right now it's tough to invest in fixed income. That's why I'm here today to provide you with some insight that we can easily turn into action for your clients. We're going to do that by talking about the current environment, future positioning for your clients, and finally I'm going to provide you with our best solution to your clients' concerns, our Strategic Income Opportunities Fund, ticker BASIX. You might want to write that down. So, it's no secret. Times have changed. Over the last 3 decades, fixed income investors have benefited greatly from declining rates. But with the 10-year just under 2%, my question is, how much lower can rates really go? At BlackRock, we see the 10-year being between 2.25 and 2.5 in 2013. So have you considered how that might affect your client? I'm going to ask you to go back to 2010. At the end of 2010, the 10-year rose over 100 basis points in a 2-month period. During that time period, the intermediate term bond category was down 5.5%. That means that if your clients had $1 million of their safe assets invested in intermediate term bonds, they lost $1,000 a day for 2 months straight. That doesn't seem all that safe. Even more troubling is if your clients have a duration greater than their yield, which, by the way, 75% of bond funds do, a 1% rise in rates is going to completely turn them negative for the year. Look at the benchmark, the Barclays Ag, right? That's what most fixed income funds are held accountable for. That has a duration of 5 and a yield of 2. So if you go back to our estimate of 2.5 for the year, let's say a 50 basis point rise, the Ag will be negative, which means clients in similar fixed income investments will also see negative returns in their safe assets. So given these harsh realities, it's important to be proactive in positioning your clients for the future. And I'd like to provide you with a few positioning points. So first, you're going to want to be able to manage your client's duration. When I say manage duration, I mean you want to be able to tactically reel in duration as rates rise, and also extend duration as they fall. Another positioning point is going to be yield. Not the absolute yield that we always stand up here talking about, or that you call in for, want to see what the next hot fund is. I'm talking about yield relative to duration. If your clients have a yield that's greater than duration, it's going to provide them some cushion as rates rise. It's also going to help to ensure that they don't see that negative year in their safe assets. So far, in this presentation, I've talked a lot about interest rate risk. But as many of you know in traditional fixed income, you're going to derive your returns and yield from 2 sources of risk. That interest rate risk, but also credit risk. So if we're in agreement that we need to start taking down our interest rate risk, it's crucial that we have a strong understanding of the credit risk we're taking on, both to capitalize on opportunities and avoid unattractive investments for our clients. So given these positioning concerns, it's really important that our clients are in a fund that's truly unconstrained. That's why I'm here today to talk about the Strategic Income Opportunities Fund. And as I just mentioned, we're going to get returns from 2 sources of risk: credit risk and interest rate risk. So first, let's look at that interest rate risk. The fund's able to tactically manage duration from -2 to 7. And it currently has a duration of 1.2 with a yield of 2.8. Now, what does that mean for your client? I know that's a lot of random numbers. So a duration of 1.2 means that if they were currently in the fund, they would be positioned to handle a potential rise in rates. But that range of -2 to 7 means they can handle any rate environment in the future. And with a yield of 2.8 and a duration of just 1.2, they're going to be provided that cushion that we talked about earlier with having a yield greater than your duration. I'd ask you to think back to that example of the Barclays Ag. It would take a 50 basis point rise for the Ag to be negative for the year. Based on our current positioning with yield and duration, our fund, or the 10-year rather, would have to go up 200 basis points for our fund to be negative for the year. And that's just the current positioning, so remember, we could tactically manage that going forward. I think that's a great look into how we manage interest rate risk. So now let's take a look at how we manage that credit risk. So this fund is able to invest in any sector, credit quality, or geography without limitation. We're going to treat these credit selections as risk-aware rather than risk-adverse. What that really means for your client is that we're able to capitalize on current opportunities and avoid future surprises. A great example of this would be the fiscal cliff negotiations. Leading up to the fiscal cliff, we sold individual credits that we thought were expensive, and the reason we did this was we took profits off the table. We also took down our downside risk when volatility spiked. If you think back to how your clients are currently positioned, these two examples are great illustrations as to why your clients can benefit from a truly unconstrained strategy. Given this low rate environment and the strong possibility that rates are going to rise in the future, it's important for you to be able to tactically manage your client's duration while also taking on appropriate and timely credit risk. The unconstrained, flexible nature of our Strategic Income Opportunities Fund makes it uniquely positioned to take on all your clients' concerns within traditional fixed income. I'll certainly take any questions at this time, but I'd also like to meet with you individually and discuss how we can help your clients to better navigate this fixed income environment by turning insight into action.
Thank you, Mr. Piazza. I've owned BlackRock products for a number of years now, and the core bond and total return. I don't know this fund here, but my question is, who's running the fixed income show now? Because you had this Anderson guy, then you had another guy. Who's in charge of taxable fixed income?
Yeah, so I mean, Rick Reeder's really going to be our taxable fixed income guy now. I mean, Eddie, thanks for the question. It's a great question. I really appreciate it. I get you back. But yeah, I mean, Rick Reeder's going to be running the show now. I mean, did you have any questions related to?
So he's the PM.
He's going to be the CIO of
Who's running this SIO fund?
I'm going to say Bob Miller is running this fund.
I'm asking you.
I'm telling you.
I saw that the yield of this fund is 2.5%. So my client comes me with $1 million, and they're only going to get $25,000 a year back. How is that enough going into retirement?
No, that's a fair question, and you know, I think there's a couple parts to this. So first of all, I would say SIO is certainly going to be a core holding, but typically we'll recommend mixing SIO with, say, a multi-asset income fund that we have, so you get a little bit higher yield. But going back, you know, I would say, what are the alternatives? So you can go out into an intermediate term bond fund or some regular traditional type fixed income fund and get a higher yield. But now if rates really do rise, they're not effectively getting that higher yield number because price depreciation is going to affect that. So I think that's really the main idea here, is that this is a way to really position your clients for a rise in interest rates going forward.
What are other ways to play a rising rate environment? What other products does BlackRock offer?
To play a rising rate environment, in just taxable fixed income?
No, I'm open to anything.
Ben, thanks for the question. So, you know, I would say, you know, the one thing is obviously you can look at our floating rate fund. You know, that's going to be a good way to play rates, obviously, just as you know. The rate paid on that's going to adjust every 30 to 90 days. So if you really think, you know, rates going forward are going to rise, that's a great play. I would say multi-asset income is also another great way to play it currently. It's got a duration of around 1. So that's not going to be as tactical as those strategic income opportunities because it's not able to have that much flexibility with duration, but that's certainly another play right now.
Frank, I only buy closed-end funds on the IPO. I mean, I love them. Nothing. What do you got? What's your pitch?
Keith, I mean, it sounds like, first off, it sounds like you're a fiduciary for your client. I really appreciate that, really caring about your clients. But, no, that's great. Yeah, we actually have this new IPO. It's called BIT. So it's going to be in the taxable side of things. It's a multi-sector, it's called multi-sector income trust. But right now it's about, you know, 54% non-agency mortgages. So, you know, I'm not sure how familiar you are with non-agencies. But right now we do see value there, and it really just goes back to the housing story currently, the housing recovery. So you know, if you have a strong conviction in the housing recovery, I think it's a great play right now. And with a levered duration of only 3, you're still getting a pretty low duration for the amount of yield you're achieving, which is about 7 to 7.5%. Do you have any other questions?
Well, that's better than the 2.5%. So, thank you, Frank.
All right, folks.